did your long-distance lover's infidelity reveal itself through your parents' medical bills? I found out my long-distance boyfriend of 2 years, Kevin, was cheating not by finding texts, but because his side piece, Denise Richardson, 53F, was getting treated for an STD by my mother's doctor, and the bill hit the wrong insurance network. I'm currently sitting in the lobby of a specialist's office, desperately needing to sign some privacy release forms while trying not to visibly ugly cry into my stale Starbucks latte, because this whole situation involves my elderly parent, the only reason I am even talking to this doctor, and now it's all exploded. Honestly, I don't even know where to start. Maybe I should preface this by saying I'm Alexis Jenkins, 42F. I'm an elderly parent caregiver, which basically means my life is a carousel of managing medication schedules, physical therapy appointments, and trying to navigate the absolute nightmare that is Medicare-Medicaid private insurance coordination. It's exhausting, but I love my mom. That's why I was even in the waiting room of Dr. Hayes' office on Tuesday at 11:47 a.m., which is located on the 5th floor of a ridiculously expensive medical building downtown. I was there trying to sort out an out-of-network charge, a $347 bill that the insurance company swore was routine, but looked suspiciously like a diagnostic procedure that should have been covered. And then there's Kevin Cooper, 42M, Kevin, the man I thought I was going to marry. He'd been together for 2 years, 4 months, long distance for the last 18 months because of his huge career opportunity as a regional manager for some logistics company in Arizona, while I was stuck here managing my mom's needs in New Jersey. Kevin is a covert narcissist. Past me was such an idiot for thinking his constant need for validation was just him being sensitive. He has this incredible ability to make every single conversation about his struggles, his stress, his accomplishments. If I mentioned the $85 plumber charge for the leaky faucet, he'd pivot immediately to the $200 withdrawal he had to make for gas and client dinners that week. It was exhausting, but I genuinely loved him. We had the future mapped out, or so I thought. He was supposed to move back next spring. We were already planning on signing a lease for a 2-bedroom apartment near my mom's house in Westfield. I even had the $1,247 rent figure memorized. I spent half my sick days, I only have 3 left, BTW, driving out to look at places and FaceTiming him from the kitchens. NGL, the distance was hard. We spoke constantly, though. He had an iPhone 14, and I had my old Samsung Galaxy, whose battery was always dying at 3% right when he called. I swear, he'd send 27 calls in 1 hour if I didn't answer his first 2. I know, red flag possessive much? Anyway, back to Tuesday. I'm sitting there, trying to figure out why this $347 charge won't go away. I'm wearing the comfy leggings I bought at Costco and a faded IKEA t-shirt, looking like I wrestled a bear and lost. I had stopped at Starbucks on the way and got a cold brew that was now lukewarm, and I was scrolling through TikTok when this woman walks in. She was loud, really loud. She marched straight up to the desk and started complaining that they had faxed her confidential medical history to her work email instead of her personal one. Specifically told Brenda to use the Gmail, not the corporate account. She practically yelled, tapping her Samsung Galaxy against the plastic divider. This was Denise Richardson, 53F, and she was wearing a bright purple silk blouse and had enough gold jewelry on to sink a small ship. Her whole vibe was, I require attention, immediately. Her voice immediately caught my attention because it was so familiar, but I couldn't place it. Maybe she was one of my mom's bridge partners. I was trying to focus on my insurance paperwork. I needed to send a Zelle transaction to my mom's caretaker later that day, and I needed this $347 sorted out first. Then Denise said, and the amount for the, consultation with Dr. Hayes, that $43.67 copay? That's for me, not for my husband's policy. He can't know about this. I froze. $43.67. That was the exact amount Kevin had Venmo requested from me 2 weeks ago, with the description urgent medical bill, short this month. He said it was for an allergy shot he needed immediately for a business trip. I had joked about the specific amount, asking why it wasn't rounded up. He got defensive, naturally. It's the precise cost, Alexis. Stop being dramatic, he'd said over the phone. My hand started shaking. I picked up my phone, opened Venmo, and went straight to the payment history. There it was, Kevin Cooper, $43.67, urgent medical bill. Wait, why would Kevin need me to pay for his medical expense if he was supposedly using his own very robust corporate insurance? And why was the amount exactly the same as this loud woman's copay at the very same specialist's office? I felt my stomach drop like I was on the world's worst roller coaster. I felt dizzy. I looked up at Denise. She was still arguing with the receptionist, her back slightly to me. I decided I was being crazy. I was stressed out. I hadn't slept well because my mom needed me to drive her at 5:30 a.m. to a physical therapy appointment. I was sleep-deprived and paranoid. I should have listened to my therapist when she said my anxiety was leading me to catastrophic thinking. Just then, another woman walked out of one of the examination rooms. This was Sophia Thompson, 58F. Sophia is a mooch, a longtime acquaintance from my neighborhood who always needs a ride, needs to borrow money, or needs someone to cover her shift. She came out looking furious. Sophia spotted Denise. Denise, I knew that was your Gucci bag I saw outside. Denise turned around and the whole waiting room suddenly got very quiet. Sophia, hi, I was just leaving, Denise said, sounding a little too cheerful. Oh no, you are not leaving before you tell me what the hell you're doing here. You told me you were at the spa. I called your office. They said you were on PTO for a family emergency. Lying much? Sophia's voice dripped with accusation. Sophia is normally meek, but when she feels wronged, she goes on the attack. Denise sighed dramatically. It's just a consultation, all right? For, female stuff. Yeah, female stuff named Kevin Cooper, 42M, right? Sophia snorted. The air went out of my lungs. A lukewarm coffee almost slipped out of my hand, splashing onto the floor. I saw red. I stood up so fast my chair scraped loudly against the tile floor. Everyone looked at me. My vision went blurry and my chest tightened. Denise turned around fully. She looked me up and down. She didn't recognize me, thankfully. I was physically shaking. I walked 3 steps toward them. I wanted to scream, but we were in a medical office, so I just managed to whisper, "What did you just say?" Sophia, completely oblivious that she was talking about my Kevin, just pointed a manicured finger at Denise. "Oh, she's sleeping with that covert narcissist Kevin from Logistics Corp, the one who moved here from New Jersey and swore he was getting divorced, but never actually filed the papers. She thinks she's going to get him to pay her rent. She just admitted she's about $200 short on her month-to-month lease for apartment 3B. My head was spinning. New Jersey. Logistics Corp covert narcissist. Month-to-month lease. Apartment 3B, that was where Kevin said his temporary corporate housing was located. He had even sent me a picture of the view from the balcony, telling me he wished I was there. I felt so stupid. Past me was an absolute clown. I managed to catch my breath and I looked at Denise. She finally recognized the horrified look on my face and put the pieces together. The color drained from her purple blouse-wearing self. "Wait, who are you?" Denise stammered. "I'm Alexis, Kevin's girlfriend. The one he calls his future wife," I said, my voice cracking so badly it sounded like a dying seagull. Denise started to backtrack immediately. "Oh my God, I didn't know he was serious with someone. He said you were just a friend. A childhood hero." Childhood hero? What the actual fuck? That's when the 4th person in this unholy melodrama decided to enter the stage. Teresa Walker, 55F, my actual childhood hero. Riza was my older neighbor growing up, the cool woman who taught me how to drive stick and gave me fantastic life advice about trusting my gut. She had suffered a serious injury last year and had been seeing Dr. Hayes for specialized physical therapy. She was in the waiting room trying to get her Ring doorbell camera set up on her tablet so she could check on her house, but she'd been sitting quietly in the corner this whole time. Teresa slowly walked over, putting a supportive hand on my shoulder. "Lexis, honey, get your coffee cup. Let's go," but I couldn't move. I felt glued to the floor. The rage was starting to burn away the embarrassment and the sadness. "I need to know something," I said, looking straight at Denise. "The $43.67 cape. What was the consultation for?" Denise looked wildly around the room. "I'm not discussing my private medical details with you. Is it possible," I continued, speaking slowly and deliberately, "that the consultation was for the exact same reason Kevin had to use 4 of his sick days last month and told me he had a severe stomach flu?" Denise went from pale to a bright, angry red. Sophia covered her mouth with her hand. Teresa just squeezed my shoulder gently. Denise looked at me, full of absolute disrespect, and said, "He told me he couldn't wear his Apple Watch for 2 days because the strap was irritating the rash." That's right, the Apple Watch. Kevin, who religiously tracked his Peloton rides and his 10,000 steps a day, suddenly couldn't wear his Apple Watch for 48 hours. I had worried he was depressed. I had sent him a Talenti Gelato care package via Amazon to cheer him up. I was such an idiot. "I spent $43.67 on Venmo for your STD copay, didn't I?" I whispered. Denise didn't answer. She grabbed her ridiculously large Gucci bag and tried to bolt for the exit. "Wait a second," Teresa said, stepping in front of the door. Teresa, my childhood hero who I always thought was soft-spoken, suddenly had the steely eyes of a military commander. Alexis is owed an answer. The entire waiting room was enthralled. A receptionist, bless her heart, was pretending to organize patient files, but was clearly listening to every single word. Denise spat out, "It was his fault. He said it was just allergies." "He really said that with his whole chest?" Sophia muttered. I started to laugh. It was a hysterical, dry, terrible laugh. I was laughing because I was devastated, but also weirdly relieved that the math finally was mathing. All those excuses, all those mysterious $200 withdrawals from the joint account we supposedly had, which he controlled naturally, all the times he complained my Netflix password was glitchy because he was sharing it with someone else, it all clicked. "You know what's funny, Denise?" I asked, pulling out my own phone. It had 47 missed notifications, mostly my mom's caretaker needing clarification on the dosage. I ignored them all. Kevin is supposed to be calling me in about 10 minutes from a very important client dinner in Arizona. I looked down at the notification bar. There was a Zelle receipt notification. Kevin had just sent me $1,247. He texted, "Just sent the rent money for the new place, babe. Miss you so much. Busy dinner. Call you after 7 p.m. EST. Don't forget to pay the $43.67 bill, lol." He sent the full amount of rent to cover his guilt, thinking that would silence any suspicion. The absolute audacity of this man. I put my phone down and looked at Denise. Well, that client dinner just got canceled. Teresa gave me a knowing look. Sophia was now standing right beside me, fully invested in the drama. Even though Sophia is a mooch, she's fiercely loyal when she's present for a confrontation. "Lexis, what are you going to do?" Teresa asked quietly. My mind raced. I could call him. I could text him a screenshot of the Zelle receipt and demand an explanation. I could call his work. But no, that wasn't enough for a covert narcissist who had just used me to finance his side piece's medication. "Denise," I said, putting my hands on my hips. My voice was suddenly clear and cold. "Kevin's company is Logistics Corp's regional manager, right?" "Yeah, so?" she asked nervously. "You know the exact time and location of his very important client dinner tonight?" Denise nodded slowly. "He told me it was at Olive Garden in Scottsdale, 7:30 p.m. sharp. His client is the CEO of that new shipping startup, JTech." I took a deep, shaky breath. The anger was fueling me. "I have a phone call to make," I announced, but not to him. I turned to the receptionist, who looked like she needed a vacation. "I apologize for the noise. Do you tell me where the fax machine is? I need to send something immediately. And is there a public speaker system in the building? I need to make a formal announcement." Teresa looked concerned. Alexis, wait, think this through. I am thinking this through, Teresa, I said, pulling out my phone and opening my LinkedIn. Kevin Cooper loves attention. He loves professional validation. He thinks he's untouchable because he's 1,800 miles away. Well, I'm about to prove him wrong. I'm going to do this the only way a covert narcissist truly feels pain. Publicly, professionally, and immediately. I found his CEO's email address on LinkedIn. I typed out a long, rambling, but brutally honest explanation of the entire situation, starting with the $43.67 Venmo request and ending with the confirmed STD consultation at this very office. Attached the screenshot of the Zelle money transfer using the subject line, "Urgent, misuse of company funds and personal misconduct regarding regional manager Kevin Cooper." I sent it, and then I sent it to his entire corporate HR department, and then I CC'd the CEO of JTech, his supposed client at the Olive Garden dinner. "Okay," I said, feeling slightly better but also terrified. Now for the callout. I looked at Denise, who was now texting furiously. I looked at Sophia, who was grinning excitedly. I looked at Teresa, who was shaking her head but smiling slightly. I marched over to the front desk. "Ma'am, I know this is highly unconventional, but I need to use the intercom system. This is a matter of public health and safety." The receptionist, clearly overwhelmed and desperate for this to end, pointed vaguely down a hall. "There's an office down there. Use extension 503. I walked down the hall, feeling the weight of 2 years, 4 months of gaslighting and manipulation lift off my shoulders. I was literally shaking. I picked up the phone, dialed 503, and waited for the familiar click of the public address system connecting throughout the entire 5th-floor medical building. I could hear my breathing echoing through the office. I adjusted my voice, trying to keep it from breaking. "Attention, floor occupants," I began, my voice booming throughout the hallway and back into the waiting room where Denise and Sophia were standing. "This is Alexis Jenkins, 42F. I am calling today to inform you about the deceitful financial and health practices of Kevin Cooper, 42M, of Logistics Corp., currently scheduled to be having a client dinner at the Olive Garden in Scottsdale tonight." I could hear Denise scream something from the waiting room. Kevin Cooper is a serial cheater who believes he can use his partner's resources to fund his infidelity and cover his medical bills. I continued, feeling a rush of vindication. "I would like to publicly thank Ms. Denise Richardson, 53F, and Ms. Sophia Thompson, 58F, for providing the precise details needed to expose this covert narcissist. If you are a client, coworker, or acquaintance of Kevin Cooper, you should be aware that he has a history of fabricating emergencies and misusing funds." I paused for dramatic effect. I knew I sounded crazy, but I didn't care. "And Kevin, if you somehow hear this from 1,800 miles away, congratulations on the $1,247 rent payment. I'll be keeping it to pay the security deposit on my new apartment. Also, you might want to call your CEO because I just gave him a full accounting of your urgent medical bill." I slammed the phone receiver down. My knees felt weak. I stumbled out of the office and straight into the arms of Teresa Walker, who was waiting for me. "Girl, what the fuck?" Sophia yelled excitedly, pulling out her own phone. "I'm putting this on my Instagram story right now." Denise was gone. She must have bolted when I started talking on the PA system. I felt nauseous. I needed air. Riza was rubbing my back. "I need to call my mom's caretaker. I need to figure out this $347 bill. I need to buy Ben & Jerry's. I literally cannot deal," I muttered into Teresa's shoulder. Teresa pulled me back and looked seriously at me. "Alexis, what did you just do? You just broadcast that across a corporate building." "I know," I said, tears finally starting to fall, the ugly crying kind where snot is everywhere. "I think I just ended his career." My phone buzzed. It wasn't Kevin. It was a text from the CEO of JTech, the client Kevin was supposedly meeting. The text read, "Who is this? What the hell is going on? We canceled the Olive Garden dinner 2 days ago. We're meeting at the Four Seasons Resort tomorrow morning. Kevin told me he was flying back early to take care of a family emergency. What is the location of this medical office?" I read the text twice. My mind raced. If he wasn't at a client dinner and he wasn't flying back here, where was he? And why did he lie to the client too? I looked up at Teresa and Sophia. "He's still lying," I whispered, holding up the phone. "And I think I just figured out where he actually is." I looked down at the location services still running on the cracked screen of my old Samsung. I had forgotten to turn off the Find My Friends setting he insisted on. Kevin Cooper, 42M, was not in Arizona. He was 40 minutes away, just across the state line in Connecticut, and his location wasn't his corporate housing. He was in the parking lot of a budget motel, and he was parked right next to a very familiar beat-up Toyota Corolla with a bumper sticker I recognized. It was the car of my mother's former caretaker, the one who tried to steal $200 from the petty cash box last month. Her name was Candace, but that wasn't the worst part. My phone battery finally died at 1%, right before I could check the name of the motel. I looked up at Teresa, terrified. "I know where he is," I stammered, "but I need a charge. I need to know what to do next. I need to know why he's there." Teresa grabbed my hand. "We're going to my car. I have a charger. And Alexis, tell me right now, are we driving to Connecticut?" I nodded slowly, already pulling up the directions on Teresa's Apple Watch. "Yes," I said, "we are driving to Connecticut, because that motel is right across the street from the facility where my mom's insurance is refusing to pay the $347 bill." Teresa's face went completely blank. "You mean the bill for your mother's extended care physical therapy?" "No," I whispered. "The bill for the high-end private care facility where my mom's biological sister is currently living." "Your Aunt Carol?" Teresa breathed. "But I thought she was paying for that herself. You never told Kevin about her condition." "I didn't," I confirmed. "And yet, my $347 bill is tied to a service at that facility, and now he's parked across the street, and he's not alone." I had a terrible, sinking feeling. The cheating was the least of it. Kevin was involved in something much, much bigger than I thought. The thing that connected his lies, the $347 medical bill, the $1,247 rent money, and my deeply private family secrets. I turned to Teresa, my voice barely audible above the ringing in my ears. We need to go, right now. I need to know why Kevin is at Aunt Carol's facility with a known petty thief and why he's lying to his CEO about a client dinner. I felt the absolute terror and adrenaline flooding my system. $347 charge, the long-distance relationship, the cheating, it was all just the surface. What was Kevin really doing in Connecticut? I grabbed my keys, ready to leave, but stopped. I had forgot my insurance paperwork, and the receptionist was holding it. I walked back up to the desk, took the papers, and saw a handwritten note attached by a clip. It was from the billing coordinator. Read, Alexis, this $347 procedure was ordered for patient Caroline Jenkins by a man who identified himself as her power of attorney, Mr. Kevin Cooper. The charge is for a confidential asset assessment consultation. He has initiated a transfer of funds. I read the note again, asset assessment, power of attorney, my aunt's funds. The panic was gone, replaced by pure, terrifying certainty. This wasn't about sex. This was about money. Kevin was trying to steal my family's assets. I dropped the papers, the sound echoing in the now silent waiting room. I looked at Teresa. He signed paperwork saying he was my aunt's POA. He's trying to steal her money. Alexis, Teresa said, grabbing my arm firmly, we need to handle this. You have to call the police. No, I said, already walking toward the exit. He did this publicly. I'm going to handle this publicly. I need the $1,247 back. I need to expose him completely. I stopped at the glass doors of the medical building, feeling the cool air hit my face. Teresa, I need you to charge my phone, find a giant cardboard sign, and get us to that budget motel in Connecticut. We're going to walk into that motel room, and we're going to confront him and Candace in the most humiliating way possible. I took one last deep breath and looked up at the 5th floor sign of the medical building. Just publicly called out my cheating boyfriend's STD diagnosis to a building full of doctors and patients. But now I knew what was really happening, and it was so much worse. We got in the car. I buckled up my seatbelt. Teresa, I asked, my voice high with tension, do you still have the full set of those awful bright orange safety cones from when you were teaching me how to parallel park? Teresa looked at me through the rearview mirror of her beat-up Toyota Corolla. Why, Alexis? Because if Kevin Cooper thinks he's going to transfer my mentally compromised aunt's assets and hide out in a budget motel with a petty thief after spending my $43.67, he's going to find out what a real public health hazard looks like. You're not going to slash his tires, are you? Teresa asked. No, I confirmed, pulling out the exact location on Teresa's tablet map. I'm going to set up a full, very visible, extremely public containment zone around his BMW, and I'm going to start live streaming it right when he walks out. We are going to make that budget motel parking lot the most humiliating place on earth. Let's go, Alexis, Teresa agreed, pulling onto the busy street. We sped toward Connecticut, towards the budget motel, towards the truth about the $347 bill, and toward the biggest public call-out of my entire life. I had to get the money back. I had to protect my aunt. And I was absolutely dying to see the look on Kevin Cooper's narcissistic face when he saw me standing there, live on TikTok, with a megaphone and a pack of orange safety cones. But first, I needed my phone to charge. I needed to make sure I got a picture of that bumper sticker. This was going to be epic. Okay, so I am typing this update from the passenger seat of Teresa's ancient Corolla, which smells vaguely of Old Spice and desperation. We are officially on I-95 North, tearing ass toward Connecticut, and my phone is currently duct taped to the dashboard, charging slowly but surely. I am still shaking, but the tears have stopped, replaced by this cold, hard ball of determination right in my stomach. I seriously need to process what just happened on the 5th floor of that medical building. I just called out Kevin's STD diagnosis over a loudspeaker system. I sent emails to his entire corporate ladder, including the CEO of JTech, who apparently already thinks Kevin is a liar because their dinner was canceled 2 days ago. I feel absolutely insane, but also incredibly vindicated. Riza is surprisingly calm, considering she's driving 80 mph and listening to me try to sell her $20 for gas while simultaneously trying to explain the complexities of Aunt Carol's estate planning. Alexis, focus on the charge level, Teresa instructed, her hands steady on the wheel. The minute you hit 5%, we pull up the motel parking lot camera view. I want to see this Candace person. Candace, the former caretaker who tried to steal petty cash from mom. Of course, Kevin is shacking up with her. Of course. Why settle for just one type of betrayal when you can mix financial fraud with cheap sex and a dash of elderly asset manipulation? This isn't just cheating, this is a whole criminal enterprise. Quick update. 45 minutes on the road, my phone hit 6%. I immediately pulled up the map. Yes, the budget motel is definitely right across the street from Aunt Carol's private care facility. Facility where she's been living discreetly for 18 months due to her early onset dementia. A facility that Kevin should not have known existed, let alone accessed her financial information. I pulled up the text from the CEO of JTech again. What is the location of this medical office? I hadn't responded yet, and honestly, I probably shouldn't. I just needed to verify what Kevin was doing first. I clicked on Find My Friends again. Evan's little blue dot was still parked right next to Candace's beat-up Corolla. I checked the Venmo app again. That $1,247 he sent, the rent money, it was still pending transfer to my checking account. I immediately canceled the transfer and moved it into a separate savings account, naming the account KEVIN's Fraud Fund. That money is mine now, TBH. Security deposit secured. Texted Sophia the full rundown of the POA paperwork note I saw. She responded immediately with 17 consecutive all-caps messages. Sophia, the mooch, is now my chief information officer and hype woman. SOPHA, you have to do a live stream this. We will all watch. He is a monster. Did you get a picture of the car? I told her my phone was dead when I recognized Candace's car, which was a huge oversight on my part. SOPHA, I am driving to Connecticut now. And location? I am bringing him my own orange CONES. I told her absolutely not. We needed stealth, or at least the element of surprise before the very public exposure. We definitely did not need Sophia's flair for the dramatic complicating things. Teresa, hearing me argue with Sophia on speaker, just shook her head. Alexis, you need a plan that involves more than just humiliating him. We need proof of the POA fraud. She was right. Public call-out was necessary for my sanity, but I needed the assets protected. Okay, plan B, I said, rubbing my temples. We arrive, confirm the cars, and before the cones, we get proof. I need to get into that facility and talk to the administrator about how Kevin got POA access. Teresa pulled out her iPad, which had 100% battery, naturally. I'm calling the facility's main line. I'm going to pretend to be a prospective client, ask about their confidentiality protocols, and casually ask if they have any Mr. Cooper listed as a fiduciary contact. Teresa, my childhood hero, was not just a great driver and life coach, she was now a co-conspirator in a financial fraud investigation. I love this woman. Time jump, 9:15 p.m. EST. Arriving in Connecticut. It's dark now, and the budget motel, let's call it the Sleaze Palace Inn, is exactly as depressing as I imagined. Neon sign flickering, patchy asphalt, and a distinct odor of chlorine and poor life choices. We parked 2 blocks away in the lot of a dark and dry cleaner. Teresa killed the engine. Okay, reconnaissance time, I whispered, feeling like I was in a bad spy movie. I pulled up the Find My Friends again. Kevin's BMW was still there. Candace's Corolla, complete with the "My kid is an honor student at West Orange Middle School" bumper sticker, was right next to it. Candace has a 20-year-old kid in community college, BTW, so that sticker is also a lie. Everything is a lie. Teresa, I breathed. Look, I pointed across the street. Aunt Carol's high-end facility, the Gardens at Stone Creek, was lit up like a fancy hotel. and was literally steps away from stealing her life savings while sleeping with a petty thief in a $69 a night motel. The irony was suffocating. Teresa put on a pair of slightly tinted reading glasses. All right, Alexis. First, the facility. I need to know what kind of paperwork he filed. We walked over. Teresa went in first, wearing her most concerned, high-class New Jersey mom look. She looked like she was about to drop $15K a month on a room. I waited outside, hovering behind a very large fake potted fern, trying to look inconspicuous in my Costco leggings and IKEA t-shirt. I was scrolling my still charging phone, now at 15%, when I saw the first incoming text from Kevin. Kavian, babe, client dinner was great. Huge deal closed. Did you get my Zelle? Pay the bill now. Love you. Miss you so much. So stressed. The casual, immediate pivot back to stress and client dinner was classic narcissist behavior. I was absolutely convinced he had covered his tracks with the $1,247 and the lie. I almost replied, but Teresa emerged from the facility, her face grim. They won't give me details, obviously, she said quietly, pulling me away from the fern. But I asked specifically about their POA process, and they said they need 2 authorized witnesses who are not related to the family to sign off on any asset assessment, and one must be a licensed attorney. He found a lawyer who will commit fraud? I asked, horrified. No worse, Teresa whispered. I asked who the attorney was. They said his name was Mr. Smith, but they confirmed the second non-family witness was a Ms. Sophia Thompson, 58F, listed as a local community friend of the family. Wait, what? SOPHA? Sophia Thompson, my newly minted mood-turned hype woman, was the second witness to Kevin's fraudulent POA paperwork. My head started swimming again. I thought Sophia was on my side. She was the one who told me Kevin was sleeping with Denise. Teresa, Sophia is here. She's my friend. She was in the waiting room with me an hour ago. Teresa looked bewildered. Then she's playing both sides, Alexis. She probably signed those papers days ago for Kevin in exchange for, what, $200 for rent? She's a mooch, remember? She'd sell her soul for free Starbucks. It made a sick, terrible sense. Kevin uses people. He promised Sophia money or something, and she signed the fraudulent papers. Then she showed up at the doctor's office, hoping to stir up drama and distract me from the real money issue, the $347 asset assessment charge, which was probably the initial charge for the POA filing. She tried to frame it as just a cheating scandal with Denise. The rage felt like lava. I was betrayed by my boyfriend, betrayed by a woman I was just yelling alongside in a doctor's lobby, and my elderly aunt's assets were on the line. Okay, plan change, I hissed. The public call-out isn't just about cheating anymore, it's about fraud, and I'm starting with Sophia. I texted Sophia the specific location of the budget motel parking lot. Emmy, Sophia, I need you here right now. Urgent. Bring your orange cones. SOPHA, on my way. What room are they in? Emmy, don't worry about the room. Just get here. I had to get Sophia to admit she signed the papers before she could try to deny it. Time jump, 10:00 p.m. The waiting game. Teresa and I waited in the dry cleaner parking lot. I used the time to look up Connecticut state laws on power of attorney fraud. It was complicated, messy, and definitely punishable by jail time. My phone hit 25%. Time to prepare the broadcast. Open TikTok, set the stream to private for now, and tested the audio. We saw Sophia's beat-up Honda Civic pull into the dry cleaner lot 10 minutes later. She got out looking way too excited, lugging a duffel bag. Alexis, Teresa, did you find the hussy? Sophia demanded, already buzzing with anticipation. She smelled strongly of cheap perfume and gas station coffee. I stepped away from Teresa and looked Sophia dead in the eye. Sophia, the POA papers for my Aunt Carol. Ones Kevin filed. Did you sign them? Sophia's face went immediately slack. The excitement evaporated. She nervously fiddled with the zipper on her duffel bag. I don't know what you're talking about, Alexis. I told you about Denise, I'm on your side. Don't lie to me. I kept my voice low, but it was edged with ice. The Gardens at Stone Creek administrator confirmed that Ms. Sophia Thompson, 58F, witnessed the asset assessment paperwork for Caroline Jenkins. That's my aunt. Why did you sign papers saying Kevin Cooper had PO over her assets, Sophia? Sophia wilted. She didn't look malicious, just pathetic. The signature mooch look. He said it was just a formality, she whined. He said he needed 2 non-family witnesses for some corporate insurance thing. He paid me $300 cash, Alexis. My landlord was threatening eviction. He said it was totally fine and that you knew about it. Used the $347 bill to initiate the fraud, and he used $300 of my own $1,247 rent money to pay you to cover his tracks. I was beyond furious. He's stealing my aunt's money, Sophia. He made you a party to a felony. Sophia finally looked genuinely scared, not just dramatic. A felony? Oh Lord, I thought it was just boring legal stuff. I just needed the rent money. I'm a mooch, not a criminal. Riza stepped in, her calm voice cutting through the panic. Sophia, if you want to make this right, you need to call the police right now and admit you were coerced into signing fraudulent paperwork. That will help Alexis immensely. Sophia started hyperventilating. Call the police? No, I can't, but I want to help. I brought the cones and my megaphone. Wait, she brought a megaphone? Where's the megaphone? I asked, my plan solidifying instantly. Sophia proudly zipped open her duffel bag, revealing 3 bright orange safety cones and a small, battery-operated megaphone. The universe sometimes provides the exact tools needed for public vengeance. This is better than calling the cops right now, I told Teresa. The cops will take hours, and he might move the funds. We need to stop him now and gather evidence. I have the phone charged enough for the live stream, Teresa confirmed. Sophia, you're going to put those cones around Kevin's BMW, I instructed. Teresa, you're filming and running the live stream. I am handling the megaphone. Sophia, thrilled to have a dramatic task that didn't involve talking to law enforcement, immediately grabbed the cones and scurried toward the motel parking lot. The confrontation, 10:30 p.m., Sleaze Palace Inn parking lot. Watch from the dry cleaner lot as Sophia, with surprising efficiency, created a perfect orange perimeter around Kevin's shiny black BMW. She even put 1 cone directly under the front bumper. She was really committed to her newfound anti-narcissist allegiance. Ready, Alexis? Teresa asked, aiming the phone. She hit live. The screen showed Alexis's live, narcissist exposed fraud alert. I grabbed the megaphone. My hands were sweaty, but my voice felt incredibly steady. This was for Aunt Carol. This was for the $347, the $1,247, and every gaslighting conversation I had endured for the last 2 years. I aimed the megaphone at room 17, the room closest to Kevin's car. Attention, room 17 OCCPNTS, I broadcasted. The sound was horribly distorted and echoed across the entire budget motel complex and probably all the way to Aunt Carol's facility across the street. Lights started flicking on in nearby rooms. This is Alexis Jenkins, 42F, here to expose the covert narcissist and financial predator, Kevin Cooper, 42M, currently employed by Logistics Corp. I heard a muffled curse from room 17. Kevin, I hope the urgent medical bill I paid for Denise Richardson's STD consultation was worth it, because your client dinner was canceled and your boss knows everything. But that's not why I'm here. Door to room 17 burst open. Kevin Cooper, wearing a hideous pair of cartoon pajama pants and a white t-shirt, stumbled out, phone pressed to his ear. He looked panicked and disheveled. Alexis, what the fuck are you doing? I'm in a meeting. This is harassment. He shrieked into the phone, clearly trying to sound like he was still conducting corporate business. Candace, the former caretaker, peeked out nervously behind him, wearing a stained bathrobe and looking utterly terrified. I raised the megaphone again, the spotlight of Teresa's phone aimed directly at Kevin. Kevin Cooper, you're currently being live-streamed to 4,000 viewers, including your HR department and your CEO. The Olive Garden dinner was canceled. You are in Connecticut, 40 minutes from my family's private care facility. And you are with Candace, 52F, a known petty thief and former caregiver for my mother. Kevin's eyes darted wildly, first to the orange cones blocking his BMW, then to Sophia standing smugly nearby, then to Teresa filming, and finally to me. The color drained from his face when he realized this wasn't just a private call-out. I would like to inform the public that Kevin Cooper has fraudulently filed for power of attorney over the assets of my mentally compromised elderly aunt, Caroline Jenkins, using a cosigner, Sophia Thompson, 58F, who was coerced with $300 of my own money. Sophia, bless her heart, gave a slight dramatic wave to the camera. Kevin screamed, "You're insane, you're making this up." "Am I?" I countered, projecting my voice clearly. "I have the $1,247 Zelle receipt you sent me to try and cover your guilt. I have the medical receipt for the $347 asset assessment charge, which was the initiation fee for the fraudulent POA paperwork. And I have the sworn statement from Sophia Thompson detailing how you coerced her into signing it." Sophia yelled. It was $300 cash. Vin lunged for his car, probably hoping to grab his briefcase, but the cones were annoyingly in the way. He stopped, realizing he was completely boxed in and fully exposed. "Candace, call the police," he ordered the petrified woman. Candace, however, stepped fully out of the doorway. "No, I won't, Kevin," she said, her voice small. "I only came here for the $500 you promised me to help finalize some insurance paperwork. I didn't know it was fraud. Don't want to go back to jail?" She started crying hysterically and slammed the motel room door shut, locking Kevin out. Kevin was standing alone in the parking lot in his cartoon pajamas, blocked by traffic cones, with a former mooch, a protective childhood hero, and his scorned, enraged caregiver girlfriend broadcasting his entire criminal scheme live on the internet. He looked completely defeated. The covert narcissist facade shattered. He wasn't arrogant, he was just scared. "Alexis, we can talk about this," he pleaded, dropping the angry tone. This is just a misunderstanding. I was trying to help your aunt. She needs someone to manage her money. You were trying to steal her money, Kevin. You used me, you used Denise, you used Sophia, and you used Candace. Everything you touch turns into a lie, I said, putting the megaphone down. I didn't need it anymore. My voice was suddenly louder than the megaphone itself. I want the name of the lawyer who signed those papers, and I want you to go inside, put on real clothes, and drive straight to the local police station and turn yourself in for fraud. If you don't, I will hand over this entire live stream and all the financial evidence to the state attorney general, I threatened. He knew I wasn't bluffing. His eyes were glued to Teresa's phone, which showed the viewer count rapidly approaching 10,000. People were commenting furiously, mostly variations of OMG is that KVIN from logistics and pajamas? Fraud. The lawyer is Bob Harris, Kevin mumbled, defeated. He's disbarred, he just needs cash. I paid him $500. I nodded, feeling a terrifying calm. Teresa quietly jotted the name down. Go inside, Kevin, this is over, I said, pointing toward the room. He turned and walked slowly back to the motel room, knocking softly on the door until Candace let him in. Teresa ended the live stream. It had been 12 minutes of pure chaos. Okay, now we call the police, Teresa said, already dialing the non-emergency line. I took a deep, shaky breath. No, first I call his CEO. I had his CEO's private mobile number from the original email chain. I stepped away and called. The CEO, Mr. Henderson, 60s, sounded like he was woken up, answered quickly. Ms. Jenkins, what the hell is going on? My email server is melting down, and JTech's CEO just sent me the video link of your live stream. Is this whole thing real? Yes, Mr. Henderson. Vin Cooper is not only fabricating business trips and incurring STD medical expenses while claiming corporate dinners, he's actively engaged in financial fraud involving my elderly relative's assets right now in Connecticut, I stated clearly. He is currently trapped by safety cones in the parking lot of the Sleaze Palace Inn. I kept the professional tone, which was hard, TBH. Sleaze Palace Inn, the CEO repeated flatly. Consider Kevin Cooper terminated effective immediately. We are launching an internal audit of all his regional expenses. He didn't ask me to send him proof. He just trusted the public humiliation. Mission accomplished. I hung up, feeling the adrenaline finally start to ebb. Days later, the aftermath and the messy middle so, Teresa and I drove back late, after filing a police report with the local Connecticut PD, who took the fraud very seriously, thank God, and filing an emergency petition to freeze Aunt Carol's assets, citing the POA fraud. Sophia came with us and gave a full statement admitting her coercion. She's still a mooch, but she came through when it counted. She's now officially on probation in my book, but at least she's not a felon, which she was very relieved about. Kevin, we found out he was arrested the next morning at 6 a.m. when the local PD executed the warrant based on our statement and the initial fraud evidence. Apparently, the sight of the BMW surrounded by orange cones was enough probable cause. I'm typing this from my mom's kitchen, trying to figure out how to switch the utilities back to just my name. It's been 2 days and I'm exhausted. The $1,247 is mine, and I'm using it for the deposit on a new, small apartment in Westfield near my mom. I'm taking the lease with me. Kevin can deal with corporate housing. The $347 bill, it was officially flagged as fraudulent and removed from Aunt Carol's account. Crisis averted mostly. But honestly, the emotional fallout is huge. Update: the emotional crash the first 24 hours after the arrest, I felt like a superhero. Then I crashed. I cried hysterically watching a commercial for dog food. I ate a box of stale crackers and then stress cleaned the shower grout until my hands bled. My phone is still blowing up. Denise Richardson, the side piece, texted me a novel, apologizing profusely, claiming Kevin told her I was his mentally unstable ex who stalked him. I ignored her. Serial cheaters rarely change. My mom's caretaker, who had tried to steal $200 last month, texted me too. Candace, I'm sorry Alexis, I just needed the money. He said he was going to take care of me. I blocked her. I don't have the emotional capacity for collateral damage right now. The worst part, a week went by where I literally couldn't sleep. I'd wake up every hour, checking my bank accounts, making sure no one else was trying to steal my family's assets. I realized I wasn't just grieving the relationship. I was grieving the future I thought I had, the house near my mom, the stability. It felt like I wasted 2 years of my life trying to prop up a man who saw me as an ATM and an alibi. My therapist called me on Tuesday and told me what I did was a necessary, if unconventional, act of self-preservation. I call it Tuesday. I still have to manage my mom's medication schedule, BTW. That doesn't stop just because your ex is in jail. Caregiving is relentless. 3 days after that, small victories and realizations, I saw Teresa again this morning. She brought me a huge coffee and helped me change the billing address on my insurance forms. She keeps saying she's proud of me. Teresa is the real hero here. She told me she watched the live stream playback, which is now apparently viral on several anti-narcissist support groups, and she said what was most impressive wasn't the yelling but the planning. I finally laughed when I changed the Netflix password. I didn't just change it, I changed the profile name from ours to Alexis is not an ATM, and then I made the password NOPOFORAUKVN. Petty? Yes. Satisfying? Absolutely. Vin's mom texted me a long, rambling message about forgiveness and how I should think of his career. I replied with a screenshot of the police report. Silence. The messy reality is sinking in now. I'm moving into a shoebox apartment next month, and my credit score took a small hit closing down the joint credit card he ran up, but I'm sleeping peacefully for the first time in months. The biggest realization came yesterday. I was looking at the $43.67 payment I made to Kevin for Denise's consultation. I felt such rage about him using my money, but I finally deleted the Venmo app from my phone, and it hit me. The transaction itself didn't matter. What mattered was the lie that made me pay it. The lie that he needed me to rescue him, even in small ways. That was his power over me, and now that power is gone. I know reflection and update. Kevin is out on bail, BTW. He lost his job instantly, and his corporate apartment lease was terminated. He's reportedly staying with his friend Mike and is trying to sue me for defamation, which my lawyer laughed at. Thank goodness for pro bono referrals. The fraud investigation is ongoing, and my aunt is now protected. Denise Richardson is keeping a very low profile. Sophia Thompson is still asking if she can borrow my car to go to Costco. I said no, boundaries, people. Teresa and I are planning a road trip just for fun, no crime involved. I owe her at least a dozen tanks of gas and a therapist's bill. My mom is doing okay. She still asks where Kevin is, and I just say, he moved away for work, Mom. The truth is too complicated right now, and frankly, she doesn't need the stress. I am not fixed. I still have bad days where I feel like an absolute clown for missing all the red flags. But I'm alive, I'm financially solvent, and I stood up for myself and my family in the most spectacularly embarrassing way possible. Yesterday, I bought myself a $43.67 spa gift card, a small, necessary act of reclaiming my funds. So yeah, that's the update. From the specialist's office lobby to the sleaze palace in parking lot. I'm exhausted, but I'm free. I'm Alexis, and I'm finally putting myself first. We'll update if Kevin actually manages to serve me papers, but honestly, I think he's too busy dealing with the fallout of his professional life being nuked by a single, very effective, 12-minute TikTok live stream. Goodbye, Kevin, and thank you, orange safety cones.